Next thing I know, it was bam, 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 and Doug falls. So I ran outside, and I'm standing right over him when he took his last breath, like, you know, there's nothing I do, man, just be cool, the ambulance will be here in a minute. But, I watched him sit there and take his last breath, you know, and, but there was an argument between Brian guys seemed like he started everything.
All right. Can you help with that? Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
We're on the record in case CR 207179, case caption stated that a plaintiff versus August Anton Peters, defendant, and the record this morning will reflect the presence of the defendant. Mr. Peters, good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Counsel, Mr. Mathew Stermitz.
Good morning.
The state represented by Mr. Kevin Pasquale and Mr. Richard Haas. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you?
Good. Ms. Marnie Poole with the Division of Parole and Probation.
Morning.
Good morning. And this matter is on the court's calendar today for purpose of sentencing. Also, for the record, we're using Zoom today to record these proceedings, and I believe we have one individual appearing via Zoom, Leanne. It's just identified as Leanne on the Zoom. Okay, very good. Let's continue. The court is in receipt of a precinct's investigation report prepared January 12, 2022. First, let me ask, Mr. Stermitz, is the defense prepared to proceed with sentencing?
We are.
The state prepared to proceed with sentencing?
We are.
And Mr. Stermitz, have you received a copy of the precinct's investigation report dated January 12, 2022?
I have.
Have you had an opportunity to review this with your client?
We reviewed it, yes.
Are you aware of any factual corrections?
No.
I do believe, and I should have corrected this myself first, the sentencing date was identified as February 2nd, 2022 on page 1. I'm going to change that to today's date, March 23rd, 2022. And Mr. Pasquale, does the state have the precinct's investigation report with so many factual corrections?
I have it, Your Honor, and that same correction is being made on page 5, and credit for time served should reflect 684 days.
684 days. Ms. Poole, have you recalculated credit for time served?
Yes, and it is 684 days, Your Honor.
Thank you. And so that will include February 3rd to today, May 23rd, correct?
March 23rd. Yes.
I'm sorry, March 23rd.
And I have no further corrections, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Stermitz, any comment, concern, or objection to the credit for time served?
No.
The additional credit for time served has been added to the precinct's investigation report. Stermitz, does the defense have any evidence today for purposes of sentencing?
We do. We have a number of witnesses, exhibits, and a couple of recordings to play.
Okay, you may proceed.
On behalf of Mr. Peters, we would call Ashley Tarter to the stand.
Good morning, ma'am. If you'll please come up here and stand before the clerk. Raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the matter of opinion before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Thank you, ma'am. If you'll come over here and take the witness stand. Ma'am, I'm going to allow you to remove your mask while you testify, so long as you're currently not under any type of COVID quarantine. Are you under quarantine?
No.
Okay, you may remove your mask. Mr. Stermitz, you may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Tarter, could you state your full name for the record?
Ashley Nicole Tarter,
And how old are you?
32.
And are you a resident of Humboldt County today?
Yes.
Calling your attention back to May 9th, 2020, actually probably May 8th, 2020, were you then residing at the Model T RV park?
On the 8th, I was not, on the 9th I was.
Okay. On the 8th, were you in the process of moving onto the grounds?
Yes,
Okay. And as I understand it, you had a trailer that you had acquired and you were going to set it up?
yes.
So on May 8th, did you have an encounter with, well, first of all, let me ask you this. Do you know Samantha Rain?
Yes.
And how do you know her?
She used to work at Model T at the time.
Okay. And did you work at Model T?
Yes,
And do you also know her boyfriend or common law husband, Doug Higginbotham?
yes,
And on May 8th, 2020, did you meet with Samantha Rain?
yes.
And where was that at?
At her trailer?
And did you have a discussion about an altercation she had with Brian Christie?
Yes.
And what did Samantha Rain tell you?
She told me that Brian Christie and Mary Lou Keller were outside arguing over drugs and money, and that's when she heard the arguing and she stuck her head outside and asked them to please take the altercation somewhere else. There's kids around, they don't need to be hearing that.
And who was saying that?
Sam said that to Brian and to Mary Lou to please take the altercation somewhere else. There's little kids around here, they don't need to hear you guys arguing about drugs and money.
And what did she say that Brian Christie's response was?
She said that Brian's response was that to shut up before I bury you, bitch.
And when this conversation with Samantha Rain took place, was Doug Higginbotham around?
When she started talking about it, he was not around, but like he must have just been standing like right outside the trailer because he did hear it and came back inside, and that's when he said, "What did you just say?"
And repeat that again?
He was standing like outside the trailer because he was helping with the dogs, and I believe he was coming back inside when she was finished saying that part where Brian told her to shut up before I bury you.
And his response was?
What did he just, or what did you just say that he said, or like he was questioning what Brian said because he heard something about burying and it kind of like, it just upset him in a way, like, why did you say that to me, kind of thing.
Okay. And the following day, on May 9th, were you setting up your trailer?
Yes,
And who was helping you with that?
that was, and Sam, and we had another friend there, another Brian, his last name's Romer. He was just there just visiting, and Doug was working on my water lines, trying to help me get my water going. And that's when he sent me and Sam over to Ridley's to look at a park. And we were over there for a little bit longer than needed. And so we called Sam and was asking where we were at. We told him we're still at least trying to find the part that we needed, and he might have to come over here and help us because we can't find it.
And did you then, your mother went with you, is that correct?
My mom dropped us off over there.
Okay. And did there come a time when you learned that there had been a shooting at the Model T?
Yeah, because after Sam got off the phone with Doug, it was like not even 5 minutes later, my mom comes into Ridley's and she's hollering for me. And she's like, "Where you at, Ashley? Where you at?" And I'm like, "I'm over here, what?" And I was like, "There's been an emergency, Doug's been shot." And so at that time, me and Sam just both dropped our things and started running towards the RV.
And you did then learn that there had been a shooting and Doug Higginbotham had been shot.
Yeah.
We'll pass the witness.
I have no questions, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, hearing no questions from the state, you may step down. Ms. Stermitz, you may continue.
Mr. Peters would call Garland Simmons.
Good morning, sir. If you'll please stand before the clerk, raise your right hand, the clerk will administer the oath.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God, or the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes. If you'll please come take the witness stand. And same admonition, unless you're under some COVID quarantine, I'd allow you to remove your mask. Okay, thank you. Mr. Stermitz, you may continue.
Mr. Simmons, can you state your full name?
Garland Simmons Jr.
And are you currently married?
Yes, sir.
And who are you married to?
Melodi Simmons.
And back on May 9th, 2020, were you living with your wife at the Model T RV park?
Yes.
And on that day, well, let me back up. The day before that, did you hear anything unusual in the area of your residence?
The day before, not really that I know of. I'm just, I was just there, so you hear stuff all the time, so nothing really stood out that day.
Okay, and what happened on May 9th that was unusual?
Is that the day everything happened?
Yes.
Okay. This Brian, we were sitting there fixing to eat supper, looking out the camp, and we heard two people arguing. And apparently it was the Doug guy, the older guy. He was raising hell at this Brian kid. The Brian kid, he was running his mouth back. He starts heading back to the trailer where I guess him and August were living. And he went back in, the older guy was chasing him, cussing him like a dog. And they were both running their mouths.
And did you learn this older gentleman's name was Doug Higginbotham?
Right.
Correct, okay.
And so Brian went in, Doug turned around and came, going back to his camper. Brian came back out of the camper and started again. So they started their argument again. This time Doug follows him all the way back to the front of the house.
And did you hear Doug say anything to him?
Oh, they were cussing him, motherfucker this, motherfucker that, son of a bitch. It was just, a hell of an argument out there. We had no idea what they were arguing over,
And the two arguing were Doug Higginbotham and
Brian, whatever his name was.
oh,
And so the next thing we know, we hear slapping. I hear slapping like somebody's getting smacked. And I see, apparently it was August, had stepped outside and he says, "What are you doing here? I don't even know who you are, man." I had no idea. Like I said, I didn't have no idea who these people were. And he was getting, I heard like somebody slapping somebody's skin. And I saw I saw August one time as he got kind of spun around. And, the next thing I know, it was bam, 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 and Doug falls. So I ran outside, and I'm standing right over him when he took his last breath, like, there's nothing I can do, man, just be cool, the ambulance will be here in a minute. But, I watched him sit there and take his last breath, and, but there was an argument between the Brian guys seemed like he started everything. And August was like, what are you doing here? I don't know who you are. I don't know. Like I said, I had no idea who these people were. And
During the altercation, did you hear anything that led you to believe that somebody may have been trying to enter into the trailer occupied by August Peters and Brian?
it kinda, yeah, it was like he was trying to get in there to fight somebody. Like we were sitting here and we couldn't see the front, we could not see exactly right there at the door because we were obstructed by a little trailer that was sitting there. But we did see, when they started their argument, we looked and I saw, like I said, I saw where August had come out and was questioning the guy, and the guy started hitting him. They were like, this guy was smacking him. But like I said, I heard the like hands hitting bare skin.
And could you determine where is there a yard there that was part of each of the trailer parking spots?
Right, there was a small yard there.
Okay. And when August came out, did you ever see him leave that grass area of his RV pad?
No,
And did you ever see Doug Higginbotham, visually see him on the grass or at the door? Did you?
yes. Because that's where he was at when he got shot. He was, apparently he saw, whenever the gun was brought out, I don't have any idea what happened there. We saw none of that. But he was kind of like backing up, like he done realized he done messed up or something, I don't know. So he was backing up and bam, bam, bam. It's just.
What happened after the shooting? Did you see where Brian or August went?
Brian took off, because I thought Brian had been the one that shot him, to be honest with you. I thought he was the one that shot the guy. Because he hauled ass. He just booked. And so I thought that's who it was. Otherwise, I'd have never gone in there and just fall down and try to help the guy. But if I'd known the shooter was still there, I wouldn't have done that. I thought Brian had done it.
We'll pass the witness.
Mr. Pasquale?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Simmons.
Cross-examination.
Okay. I'm done with this.
Just a couple of questions and then you can take off. You heard slapping.
Yes.
Did you see any slapping?
Yeah.
And what did you see when you saw the slapping?
I saw the Doug was the instigator there. He was the one that was really doing the hitting. And Brian was smaller than this guy at the time.
Okay.
And, I heard Brian getting hit. August getting hit.
August getting hit. You heard August getting hit. Did you see August getting hit?
I saw the guy getting slapped. I was slapping at him, so, I heard smack, so I'm assuming he got hit, yeah.
Okay, and where were they when you saw that?
Right there in the yard, the part of the yard that I could see.
The little grassy area that
Yes, sir.
Mr. Stermitz described?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said August, quote, got spun around. I'm not sure what you mean by got spun around.
It was when people they're out there scuffling, he got smacked and whatever, and he was kind of like spun around,
So he was facing a different direction.
he spun around. I don't know if, I wasn't paying attention to what direction he was looking at, but,
Okay.
he got hit, he kind of moved around.
And then you said, next thing I know, bam, 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 and Doug fell.
Yes.
Okay, how much time between August getting spun around and you hearing bam, bam, bam?
It was seconds, it wasn't long. I mean, it was quick.
Okay, and did you actually see Doug fall?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you heard bam, 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 you
And
saw
he
Doug.
fell flat on his back.
Do you know where August was when you saw Doug fall?
Apparently he was in the yard. I did not see August at that time.
Okay, so you couldn't see him?
I couldn't see August.
Okay, could you see Brian at that time?
No, sir.
But you could clearly see Doug.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it's not clear to me exactly where Doug was when he fell. Was he on the little green yard or was he out in the road?
He was in the little green yard right there.
On the grass?
Yeah, he was on the grass and he fell backwards.
And he fell back.
Yes, sir. It was close to the road right there. I mean, it wasn't on the road, but it was close to the road. And he was in the grass close to the road.
Okay, when I see your hands like this, are you measuring how far he was from the
I'm
road?
just talking.
Okay. Okay. And when you heard the bam, 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 Doug was backing up.
He was, yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, it looked like he might have been like, I done stepped into the wrong stuff, and he was backing up.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Simmons, further redirect.
Did you ever see Doug Higginbotham's body move from the site of where he fell?
He never moved from where he fell while I was there, and like I said, I was over when he took his last breath.
Okay. And did you see anybody else move him?
The cops.
And could you describe the distance and where they moved him?
They pulled him out kind of like a grassy area out into the road. Just when they got there, they just drug his body out of the way.
And can you say for certainty whether or not at any time Mr. Peters left the grass yard of his trailer pad?
Never did.
He never did.
No.
And we had mention of two Brians, a Brian Ballmer and a Brian Christie. August Peters' roommate is Brian Christie, correct?
Right.
And he's the one that got in the altercation initially
Yes.
with Doug Higginbotham.
Yes.
Was Doug Higginbotham a larger man at the time than August Peters?
Your Honor, that's the office scope. Cross-examination.
Yes, sir, he was.
No further questions.
From what I saw, he looked bigger.
Mr. Pasquale, any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, now you may stand. Mr. Stermitz, further evidence?
Melodi Simmons, will you call on behalf of Mr. Peters?
Good morning, ma'am. If you'll come stand before the clerk, raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the matter now coming before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Thank you. Can you please come take a witness stand? And the same admonition, ma'am, unless you're under some COVID quarantine, I'll allow you to remove your mask testimony. Okay, thank you. Mr. Stermitz?
Ms. Simmons, can you state your full name?
Melody Michelle Castle Simmons.
And as we learned from your husband, you are married to Garland.
Yes,
And back on May 9th, 2020, you were residing at the Model T RV park.
yes.
And during your time there up until May 9th, did you have a opportunity to observe Mr. Peters or Mr. Brian Christie?
On May 9th.
Well, before that.
I never saw August, but I had seen Brian quite a few times, and we were only there 4 days.
Okay. And how close did you reside to them?
There was a trailer next to us, and so they were on the other side, so 2 or 3 spaces.
Okay. And did you make any observations about Mr. Christie, his demeanor, character, things like that in the limited time that you were there?
Oh, yes.
What did you observe?
Well, he was constantly fighting with his girlfriend. He would be on the phone, and you could hear him, even if you couldn't see him, saying, well, I still owe $900 to Brian for that shit. And so it was like, wow. So I mean, that was a phone call, then I heard him fighting with his girlfriend. And the day before this happened, he was out there screaming, and he had him out.
So you observed that he had him out,
Yeah.
and he was in
Yeah.
some arguments with his girlfriend, Mary Lou Day,
Yes.
and he was doing some kind of business on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened on May 9th?
Well, it was around, I don't know, it was in the evening, around 5 o'clock or so. We heard fighting from Doug, and because like Garland said, Brian had left his house, and pretty soon, I mean, he was running to his trailer. Well, here comes Doug. And so when Brian went back in the trailer, Doug stopped right behind our house and turned to go back to his house. Well, here comes Brian again, and just antagonizing. And so anyway, the guy comes back. I see August out there in the street, because there was a utility trailer. So there was probably 6 to 10 feet in between the back of the house that was next to us and this utility trailer that's on the road. And we could hear the slapping. When August and Doug came back into view, he was just hitting the shit out of him. I mean, he was just, and August was like trying to be the only one that was calm and was trying to keep the guy back and, you know, trying to keep him out of the yard and saying, dude, he's like, that Doug said, I'm gonna beat your ass, you know. And I'm sure that was referring to Brian, but he did tell August, don't get in the middle of this. It has nothing to do with you. And so anyway, then we saw he was pushing August, and I'm not sure. What I saw was he was pushing August, and we could see their feet in the grass, because with the trailer there, that's all you could see is grass. And you could see their feet in the grass. And then about, I don't know, seconds later, we heard pop, pop, pop. And then we saw Doug come back into sight, and he was falling back, and just, his feet were like near the grass, but he fell right behind that utility trailer. And so I called 911, and we went over there, and, you know.
That was that?
Yeah.
All right. We'll pass it.
Mr. Pasquale? Cross-examination.
You heard the shots,
Yes.
and then you saw Doug fall.
Yeah, he took about 3 steps back out of the grass, I guess. And, I mean, the loudest thud I've ever heard. Yes.
Did you talk to August at all after you saw him
No.
fall?
No.
Did you hear him say anything?
No. I didn't know that he was still I didn't realize he was still in the house, so, because Brian had just, I mean, he booked and left August sitting there.
Okay, you saw Brian leave and left August where?
In the house. with the guy, you know.
You saw August in the house?
No, he never left. So I didn't see him when we were over there, standing over the man, but so I assumed he was in the house.
You assumed he was in the house?
Yes. Actually, I really didn't know.
Yeah,
So
he could have been in the yard.
he could have left the other way. I didn't have any idea.
Okay, thank you. No more questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Stermitz, redirect.
Nothing on that.
Thank you.
Heather Harris?
Good morning. If you'll stand before the clerk, raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, under the pains and penalties of perjury.
If you'll please come take the witness stand here to my left. Are you presently under any quarantine for COVID?
No, I'm not.
You may remove your mask then to testify. Mr. Stermitz.
Heather, can you state your full name?
Heather Cindy Harris?
And you currently reside here in Winnemucca,
Yes, sir.
and you work at the Model T.
Not now.
I'm calling your attention to on or about May 9th, 2020, were you working at the Model T?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you recognize Mr. Peters?
Not really, but yes.
Okay. He's gaining weight
Yes, sir.
and cut his hair. So did you know of Mr. Peters before May 9th?
Oh, yeah, he actually used to be a really good friend of my son's when they were in school.
Okay. And where did you, back on May 9th, where was your home compared to Mr. Peters?
I was way in the back of the RV park, the very last space on the right. And he was kind of kitty corner.
Okay. Was his lot any further than the distance, was the distance between your house and his house any further than the distance between you and him today?
Our trailers were a little bit further apart than that,
Oh.
but not much.
Not much. So it's a pretty compact trailer park.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And calling your attention to May 9th, was there a time when you were out in your yard?
Yes, sir.
And this is 2020, and what did you observe?
Well, I had gotten home from the store or something and was doing something in my yard, and I saw Brian Christie run up to August's trailer. He went in for a second, and then he came back out, and August came out, and he was like joking around, like, you know, he was wanting to kick somebody's ass or something because they were messing with his friend, is what I assumed. And then I saw Brian run down to where Doug resided. And well, I didn't see him go all the way down because I couldn't see, you know, past the next trailer that was next to August.
And this is Doug Higginbotham you're referring to?
Yeah,
And you knew who he was on May 9th?
I knew who he was.
Oh,
And then I saw Brian Christie run back again. Well, the first time he ran over there, Doug followed him partway. I saw him follow him maybe halfway from his place to August. And then he turned around and went back to his trailer.
Oh, did August come out that first time?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't know if August ever seen Doug the first time or not, but.
You didn't see an altercation between Doug and August the first time?
No.
Okay.
But then Brian ran back down to where Doug was, and like he was trying to, you know, bring him back to get in a fight with August or something, I don't know. But he came back and Doug came all the way behind him. Then, and him and August started yelling, and Doug hit August, and at that time I was like, hey, you guys, knock it off, you know, we don't need the trouble around here. And then and Brian was standing by their back door that they were using at the time, and August was like in his yard still, like at the edge of his yard with Doug, and they were yelling back and forth. I don't know what they were saying besides August was asking him, you know, who he was and telling him to get the fuck out of here, because, I mean, they didn't even know each other. And yeah, the altercation was between Brian and Doug, but Doug obviously, Brian obviously let August, you know, try to take care of his problems. And I mean, when he went in there the first time, it looked like August was sleeping or something when he came out, you know. And so after Doug hit him, and I said, you guys knock it off, I saw Brian by the back door, and he opened the door and brought out a gun and was pointing it at Doug. And at that time, I turned around to get my phone to call the police. And when I turned back around, August was turning around with the gun and shot him. Shot Doug.
You never saw August leave the grass area of his home?
Right at very first when he came out, he came like towards my trailer a little bit, like up onto the road, but it was like for 2 seconds, and then we got back in his yard.
Well, you said he came towards your trailer or in the direction of Doug?
No, towards my trailer, because he didn't even know who the hell he was looking for,
Okay.
you know?
How did you surmise that?
Huh?
How did you determine that August didn't know who he was looking for?
Just the way he was like, where the fuck is he? You know, like jumped around, like, I was like, wondering what the hell he was doing, you know? And he, I mean, I didn't even know at that time what was going on for real. But I didn't understand why August came out and he was getting ready to fight somebody.
So just to clarify, you learned that mobile home, the trailer there, belonged to August, and Brian Christie was a roommate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pass it.
Mr. Pasquale, cross-examination.
Thank you. Ms. Harris, you began your testimony with saying that you saw Brian run to August's trailer, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, and then August came out and you said wanted to kick some ass for messing with his friend. And I'm wondering how you know that.
Well, I mean, that's how what I assumed, because, you know, Brian came and when he went back, you know, it's like he was antagonizing Doug to come back so August could fight him, obviously. Because Brian was standing behind August the whole time.
Now, it sounds like you witnessed most of this tragic event.
Yes.
Where was Doug when he was shot?
Right at the edge of the yard, at the far side of the yard, like far side from me.
And you were present in court when Mr. Simmons testified?
Yeah.
And he said he was backing away. Is that what you saw?
Yeah, he did. Well, I mean, he backed up a little bit, but he was on the road part, and August was in his yard.
Okay. Now, August has described the shooting as, quote, I killed somebody who wasn't attacking me, and I killed somebody who wasn't advancing on me. Is that what you saw too?
No, sir.
Okay, that's what August said. Is August wrong?
Yeah, because when Doug actually came up to the trailer and to August, Doug hit him.
Okay, so how much time passed between the time that Doug hit August and the time that August shot Doug?
It was pretty quick because I turned around for just a few seconds to go grab my phone. And like I said, when I turned back around, August was turning back around with the gun.
Okay, is that the same few seconds where Brian was getting the gun out of the trailer?
Well, yeah, after Doug hit August, then Brian opened up that door and grabbed the gun and was pointing it at Doug. And then at that point, I turned around to get my phone. And when I turned back around, August had it and was turning around.
And that's, like Mr. Simmons said, is when Doug was backing away.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Stermitz, were you ready?
So this, Mr. Pasquale, question was, and this is when Doug was backing away. Did you really see Doug backing away?
He didn't like, back way up or nothing, but he was like, put his hands up kind of like, and took a couple steps back, but I mean, it couldn't have been far because as far as I seen, Doug never went into the yard. He came close to getting into the yard when he hit August though. Other than that, he was on the road.
Pass witness.
Mr. Pasquale, anything further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You may step down.
Gabby, are you able to testify? Okay.
Mr. Stermitz?
Call Gabby Stewart. She is struggling a little bit.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. If you'll please stand before the clerk, raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give in the matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or any pains and penalties of court.
Thank you. Ma'am, you can please come take a stand here at my left. Ma'am, are you currently under any COVID quarantine?
No.
You may remove your mask to testify. Mr. Stermitz?
Ms. Stewart, please state your name.
Gabriel Lorraine Seward,
And how old are you today?
26.
And calling your attention back to May 9th, 2020, were you residing at the Model T RV park?
Yes.
And you recognize Mr. Peters next to me today?
Yes, I went to school with him.
Okay. And was he a neighbor of yours?
Yeah,
And back on May 9th, where was your home in proximity to his?
right across from his on the backside.
Okay. And you were, that would be in the opposite side of Heather Harris?
Yes,
Oh, you know Heather Harris?
yes,
And you know where she resided?
yes,
Oh. And do you recognize the Simmons today in court?
yes,
Okay. And were they neighbors as well?
yes,
You know Samantha Rain and Doug Higginbotham, correct?
yes.
And what is Doug Higginbotham's relationship to you?
Samantha's my aunt, so I called him my uncle.
And on May 9th, did you become aware of an altercation going on in the neighborhood?
All I heard was fighting.
And could you make out what kind of fighting was going on, or what was being said?
No, all I heard was yelling. I couldn't pinpoint anything out.
Did there become a time when you where were you at that time? In your home?
Yes.
And did there come a time when you looked out?
When we heard the yelling, and then that's when I seen Brian with the gun, and then pop, 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 and then next thing I know, August had it, but August didn't shoot it.
So what you saw when you looked out the window was actually Brian
With the gun,
with the
yes.
gun. You believe the gun discharged,
Mhm.
and then you believe, what, August?
August took it from Brian.
And I appreciate you coming today and pass the witness.
Mr. Pasquale, cross.
Did I understand you correctly? You saw August take the rifle from Brian?
I didn't see him take it, but at the end he had it because Brian shot it because it went pop, 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 and then next thing I know, August had it, and then the cops were there.
You saw Brian shoot Doug?
Yes.
How certain are you?
I'm 100% sure.
You know that August has said that he's the one who shot Doug.
Yeah, I don't know why. He didn't do it.
Did the police talk to you after the shooting?
Yeah, several deputies did.
Did you tell them that Brian shot Doug?
I told everybody that.
You've known August since school, high school?
Yeah, we went to high school together. He was a really sweet kid in high school.
I don't have any more questions, John.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Stermitz, any redirect?
No, I have nothing.
Thank you. You may step down.
And can she be excused? I think she,
Or is she subject to your subpoena?
well, we would release her from our subpoena if she wants to leave.
Okay.
It's up to her.
Just stay here.
Okay.
Okay. You're released if you wish.
Okay.
Your Honor, at this point, it's our plan to play a dispatch CD as well as Matt Morgan's interview with August Peters, and maybe we can just have a brief recess now.
We can. Do you need a minute to set that up?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go off the record for a brief recess. What do you think, Mr. Jones, about 10 minutes?
That would be great.
Okay, very good. We'll resume at 10:30.
All right.
Thank you all. You may be seated.
Sorry.
Where's McDonald before I start? I have you in the waiting room. When you, if you're going to share your screen and it includes audio, did you click on the share audio as well?
I will once I get back.
Okay, okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Always it
Thank
pops
you.
up with me.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Thank you. I just, that always catches me off guard if I don't click on that share. There should be a box at the bottom. When you go to share, it will say share audio.
Recording in progress.
We're back on the record in case CR 207179, State of Nevada plaintiff versus August Anton Peters, defendant. The record will reflect the presence of the defendant and of counsel in the Division of Parole and Probation. We'll continue with the sentencing hearing. And Mr. Stermitz, I believe you'd requested to play an audio recording.
That's correct. We have two. One is a dispatch call that they received from August Peters on May 9th, and as well as a interview, which would be a video of his interview with Matt Morgan on the 9th of May.
Okay, I need to confirm one thing before you play this. I have this system muted so we don't get the feedback, but I want to make sure. Does this continue to record? Okay, I may have to try this again. That's what I'm afraid of. We're going to get your feedback.
And the other, we can certainly admit the CD into the record, of course, if that's going to help in terms of.
Okay, this will be marked for purpose of identification as Defendant's Exhibit A for sentencing.
It is actually
W? They've already been marked. Okay. It's marked as W.
So we move to admit W and, I don't have, do you have the other one? Mine ends in B.
Yeah, these are all paper documents, A through B.
So there's no W.
Hold on. Are you correct? So there is no audio on there, so this is going to be W, is going to be marked. Okay, thank you. And then, so W is going to be a dispatch, video, or audio, and X is going to be a interview CD. Does that work?
What? You're offering it.
So we would ask that those two.
Mr. Pasquale.
Your Honor, if I understand correctly, W is the 911 call.
Correct.
I have no objection, I've heard it. And X is the interview between the detective and the defendant.
Correct.
And I have no objection to that either.
Which one is being played first?
It will be the dispatch audio. W.
Hold on just 1 minute. I want to make sure we're being recorded. Still, so I'm checking. I'm not the expert on the sound system, so let me just get somebody that can help me, I hope. I'm going to stop the recording for a moment until you...
So the purpose in
Recording stopped.
Is,
physical is to relieve the court of having to record this live.
okay. If we have to, Mr. Stermitz, I'll entertain that concept. I want to confirm with the state that that's not an objection.
It's not, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we're back on the record in case CR 207179, State of Nevada plaintiff, August Anton Peters, defendant. And the record should reflect that the defendant is present, counsel, and the Division of Parole and Probation. We had a little portion of this where the court system was muted in an effort to allow defense counsel an opportunity to play an audio. I believe that has been remedied now, the feedback, and so we'll continue with what has now been marked and admitted into evidence as Defendant's Exhibit W. Okay, you may play the recording.
911, what's the action of your emergency? Ma'am, I just shot somebody because some guy came and tried to assault me and I didn't know who the man was. Okay. 1130 West Woodland Boulevard, Audrey Park, Paul Key, Vermont. I was speaking to the man, I didn't know who that is, he started to attack me. And I didn't think, I shot him twice. Okay, okay, listen, what's your name? August Peters, ma'am, I didn't mean to, ma'am. He attacked me and my roommate. He came and I never met him. Where is he at? Where are you at? I'm in my house, and then leave. Yeah, I down. I'm so. Where do you live? I'm 1130 West Winnebago Boulevard. What space number? 42. Now, the very last time I said it was bleeding out now. And you shot him? Yes, ma'am. He tested me. I've never met this man a day in my life. He came and disrupted me. He came and he punched me in my mouth and he fucking... Did you put your weapon away? Yes, my weapon is away. So man, I don't know if that man's gonna make it on, so fucking on. What? Spell your last name for me. Peters. And you said your first name was August? Yes, ma'am. Man, I'm so fucking sorry. I've never met this dude in my life, and he came to me. He started putting me on. I've never met him. I saw some punk, and he fucking clocked me right in my jaw. I've never met this dude. So did he proceed here? No, I was standing outside talking with my roommate, and this man walked up to us, and he started to tap my roommate, and I was like, hey man, you calm down, buddy, what you angry? And he punched me right in the mouth, and he started to swing on me, and he being very, I've never met this man, ever. They started being very aggressive towards me, started pushing on me, and punched me in my face 2 times, and I was like, he's making me leave, I'm gonna shoot you. And he kept pushing forward towards me, and I shot him. That is exactly what happened, ma'am. I've never met this man a day in my life, ma'am. Okay. I don't even know the guy's name, ma'am. Like, I'm so... And he punched you? Yes, he punched me, ma'am. And he assaulted my roommate as well. I've never, ever seen this dude, ever. And are you still inside of your trailer? Where are you? Yeah, I'm inside my trailer right now. I lost myself. Are you the only one? Yes, I'm the only one in my trailer right now. City unit, suspect on the line, he's in space 42. And did you put your weapon away? Yes, it is away, ma'am. I'm so sorry, Pete. I've never missed this anything in my life. I just woke up. I will tell you that channel 1. Traffic to channel 3 again. Closing channel 1. Clear. Report. Ma'am, there's people surrounding outside my house now, please. Okay. There's people everywhere right now. I don't know what's going on. I just don't believe, ma'am. Are there because he did get shot. Let me. Ma'am, please, I just scared right now. I've never met that man a day in my life, and I didn't mean. I counted 3 times, ma'am. You shot 3 times? I counted 3 times, and I did, ma'am. I apologize. I've never met that man a day in my life, ever. I don't even know the man's name. He just came and he started swinging on me. He punched me in my face, and I had to defend myself. It's my home, ma'am. I'm sorry. I am fucking sorry, okay? Okay, hold on. I don't know. Is it safe to open my door and talk to an officer? I don't want to open my door and get shot right now. Okay, August, listen. Nothing in my hands but my phone. August, listen to me, okay? I need you to exit your trailer and comply with officers' commands to make sure they can see your hands. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So you just keep that thing.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Okay.
Permission, we turn it off.
And now you're requesting to play the interview?
The interview between Detective Morgan and August Peters that was conducted that evening, May 9th.
And this is now admitted into evidence as defendant's exhibit X.
Yes.
You may publish. Can you follow the same protocol to?
I'm hoping.
Okay, thank you.
Recording in progress.
We're now back on the record. You may proceed.
It's still outside. I don't remember seeing your phone. Oh, you did come out with the phone. I do not know. Okay, just wondering, sir. I don't want my stuff to get stolen. That's why I ask. It was on the grass when you told me to drop it, sir. By chance, do you think I could get a shirt? I don't have one right here for you. Okay, understandable, understandable. You know, being in an investigator room, I thought I'd be in here for a completely different fucking reason than this. Hey, how are you? Matt. August. August? Hey, that's when I was born. Does that count? Hey, what are you? You just hang out. August, you want to sit over there? I'm going to sit right here. Is that what you do? Yes, sir. Okay. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what's kind of going on. So, I'm going to read you your rights just because you're here. Okay? Yes. And then once I'm done reading your rights, I'd like to talk to you. Can I get you a water or anything? Water would be good. Water, okay? Yes. Give me just 1 sec. Let me get you one, okay? Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Sorry, it's not super cold, but it's wet. That's fine, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, like I said, I'll just read your rights real quick and kind of figure out what kind of went on, okay? All right. All right, this is I'm an officer with the Winnemucca Police Department, and on, gosh, what's the date?
May 9th.
May something.
I want to say it's May 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, because UFC was gonna, you know.
Anything else? Yeah, anything else? You want to watch it all? Cool. All right, now what date is it?
9th.
Yeah, you're right. May 9th. You were
UFC was on.
Oh, yeah, she was on the clock.
It was gonna be Tony Ferguson versus Justin Peach, and Dominic Cruz versus Henry Cejudo.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to watch UFC today, man.
That's awesome. It's okay. We'll get figured out, all right? Yes. 2020s. At 18:42 p.m. August, right?
Yes, sir.
What's your last name? Peters. P.
Peters.
Oh, Peters. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this says here, this is I'm an officer with Winnemucca Police Department on May 9th, 2020. At 18:42 hours, I interviewed August Peters at Winnemucca Police Department.
Yes.
Prior to the interview and for your questions, I advise the person named the following. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and I'm present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford a hire lawyer, or will be appointed to represent you for your questions if you wish one. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights, not answering questions or making statements. Then down here, August, it says, after informing the person named foregoing, you understand your rights that I've told you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, keeping your rights in mind, you're willing to talk to me now.
Yes, sir.
All right. August, what happened today?
So, I wake up and me and my roommate, we go outside and we're just.
Okay, well, let's do this, August. Let me kind of, before you get right into that, August, what's your date of birth? What's your social security number? And what's your address? Now, do you live with this guy?
With
Do you know this guy that this happened with?
No, I've never met that man.
Okay, so you're at number 42?
I'm in 42.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
I want to say going in August or September, it would have been a year.
Okay, so you've been there about
8-9 months.
8-9
I'd say,
months.
around
Okay.
that. Right.
Are you working right now?
I was just laid off by Walmart.
Okay. Do you live with anybody else?
My roommate, Brian Christie Jr.
Brian Christie? Okay. So, yeah, tell me kind of what happened.
So me and my roommate, we were outside and
You and Brian?
yes, and we were just bullshitting, talking about how the fights were today, and I was like, hey man, Henry, you better watch out because Dominic Cruz could light you up. And some man, I've never met this man a day in my life, sir, ever. I don't even know that man's name.
Okay.
He came up and he started swinging on my roommate and calling and saying profanity towards him.
Okay, so hold on, let's just slow down for a second. So he started swinging on your roommate?
And me.
And you?
And me. And I put my hand on his chest. I was like, sir, I don't know you. What are you doing? Like, please leave. Please leave.
So what profanities was he saying?
You punk ass little bitches, blah, 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 like shit like that. Just like a bitch, or I'm gonna fuck you up. That little shit, you know what I mean? Shit like that. And then the man, I put my hand on his chest and I said, sir, you need to leave. I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
The man continued to punch me in my face.
Okay.
And
Where did he hit you at in your face?
Right here.
Okay.
Right on my jaw.
Okay.
And after that, I proceeded to shoot that man 2 times.
Okay, so where was the gun?
It was like, kind of like right by the door.
Okay, so
I always had it by for self-defense.
sure. So he, where were you guys? Because I don't know how your trip. So you were
on that grassy area. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like a small little grassy area right in front of my lawn.
Okay.
And that man came up to me on that area.
Okay.
I've never met him. I've never provoked this man. I don't even know the man's name, sir.
Okay.
I don't. I'm telling you the God.
Okay. So how many times did he punch you?
Twice.
Okay, twice. So
He got 2 off.
and what side of the face did he hit you on?
Right here.
Okay, so he hit you with his what, left hand?
I would say left.
Okay.
Because it got me on my right side of my face. So yeah, I'd say left.
He hit you twice. Okay, and did he hit Brian?
No.
Okay, so he just came after you
He
then.
came after me with the yes, but he was cussing at my roommate, but he was swinging on me,
Okay.
which didn't make any fucking sense.
So if you were standing there, where would your roommate be in this?
He was on my right hand side. I wanted to say.
So that was your left
So
hand.
he was on my left hand. Yeah, he was on my left, a few inches or a few feet behind me.
So what did he do when you started getting hit?
He was like, hey man, you need to fucking leave. And it was just so quick, and I already had it in my hand.
So he punched you twice.
And I backed up and I was like, what the fuck, dude? I don't even know you, man. And I proceeded to grab.
Okay, so like let's say if you're standing where you're at, like where you're at, how far away is your trailer to get inside?
No, I'm already in my front door.
When he hit you?
Yes, like I'm trying to go.
Because you were long, you're at
Because
long.
it's like it's a weird little like I don't know, like 5 feet by 5 feet thing.
Okay.
It's so small, man. And like the guy is on like my right here, and he's advancing on me.
Mm-hmm.
I grabbed from the door, and then I shot him.
Okay, so now.
And then he went backwards and then fell where he was when the officer.
Okay, let's go back just a little bit. So he hit you and hit you. Then you went and got your gun, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then
He continued to advance on me.
okay, did he see you have a gun?
Yes.
Okay,
When I told him, if you do not leave, I will shoot you.
Okay.
That man, he continued to press me and continued to come at me in a harmful manner, and I was scared for my safety, sir. I'm telling you the God honest truth. I was scared for myself.
Okay.
I had no malice intent. It was nothing like that. It was all my own self-defense, sir. I swear to you.
Okay, so you were right by your door when you shot him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly by my door, kind of like I was in the grass, but I was by my chair.
Okay.
But I was still like right.
And how many times did you shoot?
I want to say 2 or 3 times, sir. I don't really remember. 2 or 3. I'm being honest. 2 or 3.
Okay, and where did you shoot him at?
I didn't aim, sir. I just shot. I did not.
Did you put it up your shoulder?
I kind of put it up to my shoulder, and I aimed for the chest, but I didn't really aim. So I don't know where it hit that man.
Okay.
That's where I'm like, I didn't really aim. I meant to shoot him in the stomach to be like, hey, fuck off. Go away from me. Please, I don't know you. I did not mean to shoot him anywhere else. I only meant to shoot him in the stomach, sir. I swear to you.
And then, what happened after the first time you hit him? After after when the bullet hit him the first time you shot, what happened?
He made one foot forward, and I thought that it wasn't, so I went boom one more time, and that's when the second one is when he backed up off of me, and then I put the gun down. I put it down, and I was like, no, I'm good, I'm sorry. I did not, like, after the second or, I don't even know, man, how many times, I want to say 2 or 3 in that area.
Okay. And they were still by your door?
Yes, he was still by my house. He was still by my trailer, coming to press me. I've never met that man a day in my life, sir. I don't even know that man's name. Okay, I don't know what provoked that man to come over and talk to my roommate and me like that, or to swing on me. I don't know, sir. I'm telling you that with the God-honest truth, sir. I don't know. Okay, I swear to you, sir, I don't know what.
No, there's gotta be some reason why you come over to just square up to you guys.
No, I've never met the man a day in my life, sir. I don't even know his name. I swear to you, I don't even know the man. I've never had a conversation with the man, nothing, ever a day in my life. Ever, sir, and I'm telling you that from the God-honest truth of my heart, sir. I do not know that man.
I believe you. I totally believe you don't know. I totally believe you. Okay, now, I believe what you're telling me. But the evidence is a little different. Okay? So I'm going to kind of take you through step by step and see if this might help you, because I know it becomes a blur. Shootings become a blur.
Okay, yes, very big blur.
Yeah, no, so I understand. Okay, so all I'm asking you is try to remember to the best of your ability.
Yes.
Okay? I'm not asking for miracles. We're in here talking to the best of your ability.
Yes,
all right?
adults, yes.
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 21.
Yeah, you're a grown man. Okay? All right, so I'm going to kind of see if this will help you out maybe a little, okay? So, turn this over. Okay. So your trailer, let's just say this is the drive, okay? This is the road going in, all right? And your trailer's here, okay? That's where your trailer's parked.
Far back, yes, sir.
So your trailer's parked right there, okay? All right. And you say, where's your door at on your trailer?
I would say my door, I have 2 doors. I have one on the back side right here, and then my front door would be.
Okay, so which one did you get the gun out of?
It was by my front door. That's the only door that opens. My back door does not open at all.
Okay. All right. So that's where you got the gun out of, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why I make sure I got it. Okay. Now, there's another stall here, right? Another stall here. Correct stalls.
Yep.
Okay. Now, where was he when you shot
He was in between my back door
him?
and a little bit closer to.
So you're saying he was right here?
Yeah, he was,
Okay.
and then making advancements from my back.
And walking towards you?
Yes.
Okay.
And more threatening than
Sure.
after he's already struck me.
Okay. And he's already hit you twice?
Twice, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so here's this is why I want you to kind of, maybe this will help you remember, because it's a little different what the scene says, and where he was at. Okay? All right, so he, at the end, is laying here, right? That's where he's at.
After he did back up when I shot
Okay,
him.
hold on now, just a second, that's fine. And then he was later pulled by officers to here.
Yes, behind
Yes.
another.
Okay.
I believe.
So he was laying here.
Yes, after he backed, because he got 1, 2, and then he backed up like 4 or 5 feet,
Okay.
and then he fell.
Okay.
And now
Now, here's the only thing I would point out to you. And this is why I say
I'm
evidence.
less than 5 feet.
That evidence doesn't lie anyway, okay? Right here, right here, and right here are shell casings. So you weren't here when you shot him. You were up here when you shot him. Because all 3 shell casings are in front of your trailer. So it didn't happen back here.
Okay, then I was probably by my back door then. Yeah,
Even with
my
that,
back door.
the shell casings were out in front of your trailer. So when you shot him, you had to be out in front. So here's your bumper, right? This is the back of your trailer.
I was not in front of my trailer.
No, this is the front, right?
Yeah, or in the back of my, yeah.
This is the back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is where your license plate is.
Yeah.
The shell casings are all behind your trailer. All three of them.
Okay, so there was 3.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's okay. No, and you know what? A lot of these shootings we see, people say I shot 1, 2, 5. They don't know. And that's being totally honest, okay? And so I believe that. I just know there's 3 shell casings and 22 there, okay? But originally it sounded like it happened here. You know what I mean? By the lawn. It actually happened behind your trailer. Because your 3 shell casings are here behind your trailer. So when you shot, if you think about how a gun ejects a bullet, it goes this way. So you had to be here anyway for those shell casings to be here. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense, sir, but I was on like the middle of my lawn.
Could have been, because if you think about how a gun ejects, if you were in the middle of the lawn, they'd hit your
It
trailer.
would have hit my trailer or it would have went straight to the grass.
These, all 3 shell casings are out behind your trailer. So the shooting had to happen here-ish, right? I mean, because that's just where the shell casings are. It's the only way they can get there.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's the only place the shell
It was
casings.
either in the very, like I was either in the very, like by like the end of my trailer,
Okay.
or I was either like right there in front of the tree.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Where he fell, how many steps do you take back? You think, just guess.
3 or 4.
Okay. That still puts you behind your trailer. Okay? And my question to you is when he shot, when he got shot, when he got shot by you, sorry. The way the shell casings are landing, so the shell casings are going this way. Maybe this will help you too. So you got 1 shell casing here, okay? Next shell casing's here. Next shell casing's up here. Okay?
So it went in like a.
It went in an advancement stop. First shell casing landed, shot again, second shell casing landed, third. So it shows you going forward.
I did not make any forward movement.
I'm just going by how the shell casings landed. Okay? Because these 2 are pretty close, and then this one is quite a ways away. And when I mean by, I'm not talking 30 feet, but I'm talking several feet difference. Okay? So that tells me there's advancement. You agree? I know it's blurry, Dan, but do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean, sir. Yes, I do see what you mean.
So that shows me there's advancement.
I never made an advancement. Like, do you mean like it made like a?
Yeah, hypothetically. Okay. You went bang, shot here, however you did it, bang. Okay? Bang. There's a step. And then that's possible. And then bang. See what I mean? Because
I never made.
you got a shell
I
casing.
made 1 step.
Okay, you got a shell casing here, a shell casing here, and a shell casing here. See what I mean? So that's 3 feet.
So there's like a big.
So there's a gap there,
Yeah.
which tells me that that's probably obviously the 3rd round that was shot, right? Just because it's closer to him than the rest of them. And that's normal when people shoot anybody. It's normal, that's how you do it. That's how, it's instinctual, perhaps, you know? But I can see how the bullets, how the shells laid, that obviously there was movement forward. Okay, can you see that then?
I could see where you mean. Yes,
Okay.
I do see what you mean.
Where he fell down was quite a ways from your side of your trailer.
It was right in the back where.
Well, you said what?
It was right.
I know where he's at, because I can see the big blood stain.
Yeah.
And it's actually, so anyway, so if this is your trailer, he's down here-ish.
That's when the car came.
This is where he is after the drug, because here's the cop car parked.
He was right in the back of my trailer.
I just let you know where the blood stain is. And that's all I can tell you. I mean, I wasn't there, okay, that's why I'm asking you, August. I wasn't there. This is simply, where the blood stain was, and where the blood was is where he was. And the casings were actually here, he was here, then pulled to here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So when you have your gun in your trailer, you have it loaded with one in the chamber?
Ready to go, yes,
So
sir.
it's locked or cocked or rocked?
It's ready to go.
Okay.
Only for strict self-defense purposes.
Sure.
I've never even threatened somebody to shoot them.
Okay, so there's my question. What did you say when you turned around, you grabbed the gun, what did you say?
I said, if you do not leave, I'm going to shoot you.
Okay?
And then continue to make movement progress, and you won't, blah, 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 and I continued to shoot.
Okay, alright, then, after, so you shot it down, you set the gun down, you said, right?
Yes, I
Then what
went back
happened?
in my house. I went inside and I started to panic and I almost took my own life, but I said, no, that's not the way to do things. And I called 911 and I called dispatch. By the time I was talking to the dispatch woman, she said that the officers were already outside. And I continued to put my hands out. I dropped my phone on the ground, and the officer here, he continued to put me in the handcuffs.
Okay, so there was a gun back in the trailer
It's
then?
back in the trailer.
Okay, so you must have picked it back up after you set it down?
I still had it, yes, and then I put it in the trailer, and then I set it down.
Okay, so you didn't set it
in
down
the
outside?
trailer. No,
Okay, I was
I set
confused.
it, yeah, I set it down inside.
So you shot him, he went down, then you took it back and set it in the house?
Put it inside, yes, sir.
Okay. Alright. He's a fair-sized guy for what I see.
Big dude, kind of bigger dude, yeah.
And he hit you twice with his left.
Left, I won't say that.
Well, it was
on my right side,
yeah.
yeah.
Had to be his left.
Had to be his left.
Okay?
And the second one dazed me, that's what made me go initially, because I could take a punch, man. The first one, I was like, what are you doing, man? But the second one really dazed me, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna get fucked up right now. And I've never really met the dude. Had no prior conversation, nothing. And the man's just swinging on me on my property. Well, not it's Maltese property, but where I rent. And I'm telling you, God honest truth, sir.
So where's your roommate? Is he still, was he there then still?
He was there, but as soon as it happened, he left. I don't know where he went, sir. I don't know, okay? I swear to you, I don't know where he's at.
Okay.
On everything I love.
So do you know his cell phone number by chance?
No, not by heart, no.
Okay. Where's your cell phone at?
My cell phone should be still on the grass in front of my trailer if someone didn't just go and take it and steal it.
Well, it's all secured by cops now, so nobody's gonna steal it.
Yeah, true, you're right. So yeah, my phone will be laying on the grass area in front of by my front wall. Not by my front door, but by that tree thing.
Okay. So after you shot him, he went down, you went in, you put your gun away.
Yes, sir.
And then you called 911.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you tell 911?
I told the dispatch lady that I shot somebody 3 or 2 times, and I'm scared for my life now, and I was scared.
Okay.
I just called her and I told her exactly what I've been telling all of you guys, that it was self-defense.
Okay, so my question is, he hit you in the jaw,
Yes.
right? Let me see it. Because I don't see, and I believe he hit you, I just don't see any marks.
It didn't leave a mark, it didn't leave.
Okay, so he didn't pound you too hard. I mean,
It was boom. It was like 2 quick good jab, you know what I mean? A good jab. And then the second one was what kind of like, whoa, what the fuck?
It was a jab or a hook?
It was more of like a hook. It was
Okay.
more of a hook, actually, yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
not like a quick jab, it was like that.
Okay, let me see how. Okay, I just saw some scratches, but they're old.
Yeah, these are old.
Okay, so he hit you. You got the gun, so you're gonna shoot him. He advances. Okay, and the only reason why I say it's a little different is just where the bullets were shot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you were behind your trailer. That's just fact.
Like behind me?
Yeah, because the shell casings, like I showed you before.
Okay, so like, this is the trailer. I was like this, sir. Like, say this is like the, front area. I was more kind of like right in by my back doorish area. But in the middle of like my back door and my front door.
You could have been, because the shells are out behind your trailer. See, I'll show you again.
It's like, I don't.
Let me just maybe So you weren't here when those were shot. Your shell casings were here.
Okay.
Behind your trailer.
Okay.
It's impossible for you to shoot here and shell casings be there.
Yes.
It's mathematical impossible. It's cannot. Yeah. Shooting had to be behind your trailer, because that's where every shell casings are. Okay? So when you shot, you had to at least be here.
I was still on my property.
It doesn't matter, the whole thing's property. I don't care if it's the grass, or look, honestly, I don't care if it was here. Okay? That I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I'm just saying, it's impossible for you to be where you said you were. Yes. Can't be done. Because the shell casings are here.
Then I was probably like right there on my back door.
You had to at least be here. Had to.
At least on my back, yes. And I was
You couldn't even be by your back door, you had to be behind your trailer, because the shell casings.
Well, my back door is like, there's like literally this much room.
Well, yeah, you had to be at least that far from your back door. For where those shell casings were, at least, yeah. Just where all the shell casings were, okay? Alright, so, then you called 911.
Yes, sir.
And said you shot the guy.
Yes, sir.
And they said the cops were on the way. Then what happened? And then the cops showed up?
Yes, well, she already said that they were there.
Okay.
And she said, don't do anything stupid, just put your hands out. And when I opened my door, I don't know that man's name, he seems like a very cool dude. But that officer proceeded to say, hey, drop your phone, let me see your hands. I did everything that officer told me to do, and what every officer around me told me to do. I shut my hands and I laid on my stomach. And then he continued to drag me, then put me in his handcuffs, and then he put me in the back of his squad car.
Cool. Alright, okay, can you give me just 1 sec?
Yes.
Would you mind? Is that okay? Okay. Hang on just 1 minute. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to have some water. You got your water.
Yes, sir. I just want to watch UFC tonight. That's all I wanted to do. Really. I don't want to get kicked out of my house. I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to. I'm so fucking sorry. I don't want to lose everything I worked for. I'm just getting on my feet as an adult, man. Fucking cold, dude. Holy shit.
You know, if there's no objection from the state, we would terminate it here. I think all that happens is he's put in custody.
No objection, Judge.
Okay, you may stop. Video. Simmons, further evidence?
I do. And at this point, Your Honor, we would move to admit Exhibit B and
B is in boy.
yes, B and H. And these are toxicology reports of Doug Higginbotham that shows a post-mortem methamphetamine level of 1,500 nanograms per milliliter, as well as William Anderson, who's the state's toxicologist. His conclusions that the person under such levels of methamphetamine may exhibit violent and irrational behavior, restlessness, confusion, potentially hallucinations and convulsions. So we would ask that those be admitted, B and H.
Does the state have any objection?
I don't think I do, Judge, I just need to see them.
Go ahead. Do you want to compare those with counsel's?
I've got one marked B, but I can't find one marked H.
Here, H is that.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Hearing no objection, exhibits B and H are admitted.
We would likewise move to admit the Godoy Medical Forensic Report, which is Exhibit G.
Exhibit G,
Correct. Which,
let me first ask, state have any objection, exhibit G.
No, Your Honor, I'm familiar with it, and have no objection.
Exhibit G is admitted, Ms. Stearns, go ahead.
and the Godoy forensic nurse concludes in her report that delusion, paranoia, violence, and aggression can result from consumption of sufficient meth to raise a person's toxicity to that level, and that it did appear that Doug Higginbotham was under the acute effects of methamphetamine at the time of his demise, and may as well have suffered from chronic meth use.
Further evidence?
We would move to admit Exhibit F, which is a report from Nodell Scientific, an expert that the defense hired who did a reconstruction of the crime scene, mapped the crime scene, shot the firearm, and concluded notes that Detective Morgan made claims during the interview with Peters that the cartridge case position identified that Peters was moving forward while shooting, and it was mathematically impossible for those shell casings to land while shooting from the back area of the trailer. Nodell Scientific concluded that after they did their crime scene reconstruction and shot the firearm and developed an ejection pattern, that the statements by Detective Morgan were unsupported by the actual ejection pattern testing with the Ruger rifle.
Exhibit F, Mr. Pasquale?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, exhibit F is admitted.
We would move to admit the Washoe County Forensic Firearm Report. The state's forensic team did shoot the firearm, and the ejection pattern that they mapped.
What's the exhibit?
This is J.
J?
Their testing was consistent with the ejection testing that was performed by the defense expert.
Counsel?
No objection, Judge.
Hearing no objection from the state, exhibit J is admitted.
We would move to admit Exhibit S, which is Matt Morgan's stick figure schematic of the crime scene.
Mr. Pasquale, Exhibit S.
I'm assuming S is the drawing that was made that we just watched on the video?
Correct.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Hearing no objection, Exhibit S is admitted.
And we would move to admit Exhibit R, which is a forensic service agreement between the city of Winnemucca and Washoe County. I think that is paid at a rate of $40,000 a year. It includes the Washoe County crime scene, doing crime scene collection, preservation, and mapping.
Mr. Pasquale, Exhibit R.
I believe R is irrelevant and immaterial, Your Honor.
Mr. Stermitz, do you wish to respond?
Yes, we believe that there was a rush to judgment by Detective Morgan. I think it would be evidenced by the fact that the probable cause declaration, which was filed immediately on the 9th when August was put into jail. The felony complaint was filed 3 days later, and the city relied on Matt Morgan's in the defense, and then, in the state, Matt Morgan's diagram and assessment, rather than having a professional team come out from Washoe County. So we think it's relevant because it supports the rush to judgment.
Exhibit R, the objection is overruled. Exhibit R is admitted.
And we would, I know they're part of the record, but I admit them anyway, reference them, D and E, which are the probable cause declaration filed on May 9th, immediately after the shooting when August was incarcerated, and the felony complaint that was filed 3 days later by the district attorney charging August Peters with open murder.
Mr. Pasquale?
No objection, Your Honor.
Hearing no objection, Exhibits D and E are admitted.
And finally, admit L, and move to have admitted L and M, which are the Washoe County, the Humboldt County's investigations of Matt Morgan's drug use and theft of methamphetamine, and I think they list about 20 different felonies that they believe he committed within a month or two of Mr. Peters' arrest.
Exhibits L and M, Mr. Pasquale.
I would object, Your Honor. Those reports have absolutely nothing to do with this case. They're irrelevant and immaterial.
Mr. Jones, do you wish to respond?
I think that what they confirmed is that Detective Morgan suffered from, at least, because that's all the older his cell phone went back to, which they did a cellular download on and retrieved all the data after his death. Anyway, evidence that for at least 2 years he was buying and selling and using narcotics. We believe there's appears to be that he may have been under influence at the time he interviewed Mr. Morgan, but most importantly, it shows that Mr. Morgan, as we've said, it was a rush to judgment. Mr. Morgan was preoccupied with other things in his life. It affected his investigation. It affected the rush to judgment here. The day of this offense was a Saturday. Obviously, from the video, Detective Morgan had been called in, and it's the defense position that Detective Morgan wasn't interested in determining guilt or innocence. He was simply interested in assigning guilt to August Peters and going about his business.
Mr. Stermitz, specifically, Exhibit L is what? You grouped these together, so I don't know what L and M specifically.
L is the WASH is the Humboldt County Sheriff's investigation summary, it's supplement 11 of their investigation of the theft of narcotics from the Winnemucca City Police Evidence Vault by Detective Morgan. The results of that investigation, his positive toxicology reports were referenced that show that he had lethal amounts of fentanyl that had been stolen.
I don't know that I need all of the detail, I just want to know what.
That's what it is.
What is the report?
That is L,
M?
and M is the summary by Jacqueline Mitchum, I think, who was working as probably an assistant coroner at the time, that showed the.
That's good, it's a summary by the coroner.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Pasquale?
Your Honor, there's no foundation that Detective Morgan had any involvement in this case other than the video you've already seen. I didn't object to that video. That was Detective Morgan. You can make your own conclusions as to Detective Morgan without these reports.
The objection is sustained. These exhibits will not be admitted.
And the last exhibit we would offer is K, which is, hold on 1 minute. Yes, there's exhibits, and I'll group them together. K, which is a memorandum from Captain Coates dated April 23rd, 2020 to Detective Morgan. That's documenting oral counseling, and we're on April 23rd, 2020. Within a week or so of this incident, Matt Morgan is called out by a supervisor for his sloppy work, his inattention to detail, and the fact that he's not covering his shifts. We believe it's relevant because, once again, we think there was a rush to judgment here, and this corroborates our view that it was a rush to judgment, that Detective Morgan was preoccupied with other things in his life at the time.
That's one exhibit, Exhibit K?
That's K.
Mr. Swart?
Your Honor, I would object. Again, there are foundational issues. You've seen what Detective Morgan did with this case. You can draw your own conclusions. These documents predate this offense to the extent they may have asked for corrective action. We got to presume it was done because he was still working. Judge, these documents have no relevance to this sentence.
Objection sustained.
And we would offer Exhibit U, which is an employee performance evaluation, again by Captain Coates. This is 2017, 2018, where she's so concerned with Matt Morgan's performance, she indicates she doesn't even know where to begin in writing the performance evaluation. We would offer that as well.
I object, Your Honor, the same objections I've made in the past. This exhibit significantly predates the date of this offense. You observed Detective Morgan, and whether his boss had a problem with it or not is really not relevant.
Sustained.
And that's all we have for our exhibits. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4 more witnesses to call. They probably will be brief.
And Mr. Stewart, I have on this list of exhibits, I have not heard an A or a C. I'm just looking at the alphabet.
Yeah.
So if I didn't know if you would, those were still
It's a possibility. They're going to be witnesses, so those may be offered, but witnesses are here, and I'm going to have them testify.
Thank you. You may call your next witness.
We would call Dawn Green.